These folks have been cosplaying for the last couple of years as revolutionaries, and now they think that capitalism is a made-up word. Are you serious? Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on. What's going on, you all? We have to talk about Jay-Z and his... Whew, let me breathe for a second. We have to talk about Jay-Z in Twitter space with DJ Khaled, some other folks. He was talking about some things, and the conversation came up about capitalism, and Jay-Z said that this is a word or some things they're trying to come up with to keep us down. And when he said this, I'm like, he's really sound like he's speaking to like black folks. It sounds like he's talking to like black folks, like, because I don't see I don't see as many white people critiquing Jay-Z as I see black folks, but I am in community with black folks, so that probably, the reason why. But Jay-Z just seems to not get it, and this is why each and every time he's getting his butt ate up. Like, we already were looking at you sideways when you did the thing with the NFL. Like, but this is a long running theme of Jay-Z. Jay-Z will give the aesthetic, or he will say something about it in the verse, and then he'll turn around and sign a deal with the NFL and say this is beneficial for black folks. Black folks are still being shot by cops. Black folks are still being slain in the streets. Black folks are still being pushed in poverty. So I'm trying to see, how do you, being a rich billionaire, how has that affected and made black folks better when Jackson, Mississippi, which is a predominantly black city, 80% of the residents in Jackson, Mississippi don't have access to not only drinking water, but they can't even take a shower. They can't even boil the water. They've been in a boil advisory for the last 2 months. Like, this is the second city that we've heard of with a lot of black folks where they don't have access to clean water. Like, this is going to be a reoccurring thing. And you black billionaires are not going to be able to save us. And that's why a lot of us are pushing towards, like, hey girl, capitalism not really helping me out. Like, I'm really starting to understand that this system has always been against me from the very beginning. And the more people think about that, the more people realize that, the more folks start to push for something that's better, which is what they were talking about in the Judas and the Black Messiah movie that you didn't even watch, let alone read any of the work that these black revolutionaries who you've been dressing up as have been talking about for the last 50 something years. Like, you can't be serious. So I want us to first, if we have not seen the video, if we've not heard it, I want you all to listen to it and let's talk about it.
Yeah, and we're not gonna stop. The hip hop is young. We still growing, and we're not falling for that technology, whatever, this public puts out there now. That, before was the American dream. Pull yourself out of bootstraps and you can make it in America. All these lies that America told us our whole life. And then when we start getting it, they try to lock us out of it. They start inventing words like, capitalist and, things like that. I mean, we've been called nigger and monkeys and shit. I don't care. Those words y'all come up with, y'all got to come up with stronger words. When I say y'all, I'm not talking about you. The words they come up with, they got to come up with stronger words. We're not going to stop. We're not going to be tricked out of our position. Y'all locked us out. Y'all created a system that, doesn't include us. We said, fine. We went our alternate route. We created this music. We did our thing. We hustled. We fucking killed ourselves to get to this space. And, now it's like, eat the rich and think, man, we're not stopping. So that evolution is, from us, we came from selling 7 records and selling records out our trunk and, no radio play. And I think Reasonable Doubt did 36,000 the first week or something like that. I may be adding a little to it, so I come from Marcy Projects. My first house, 615 Lexington Avenue. My grandmother's house, 7 families lived. Like, she has 7 kids. My mother and my parents and siblings lived in that house. My aunt Niecy lived in that house. Hootie lived in that house. Butchie lived in the basement. I mean, this is one house. I went back to that house. I did an interview with Oprah, and I couldn't believe how small this house was. That all of us lived in that house. So, again, that evolution that you speak of, it's just real and it's happening in real time, and I'm talking about it. And we're not going to stop, and we're not going to stop talking about it. They're not going to trick us out of and make us feel ashamed to be successful in a place that you know set up a system for us to be dead at 21.
In the Twitter space, you hear Jay-Z trying to compare like the Eat the Rich and the capitalists towards, hey, we've been called the N-word and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, girl, I don't know where capitalist has become a slur. I just really don't get, I really don't for the life of me understand how someone who is a lyricist, someone who is a rapper like Jay-Z, as talented as he is, the person has way more access to a lot of things, has so much reach, doesn't understand that capitalism is a anti-capitalist. Like this stuff is just now coming up like the last couple of years. What's happening right now and what's been happening for the last couple of years is black folks are tired. Black folks have been, especially around my age, we have been around for the recession in 2008. We saw the collapse of the banks and all the other stuff. We saw the federal government bail them out. And we saw, my father was, working for a company making air conditioners. And I remember that, I remember my father being laid off from his job for a couple of months because they were not building as many homes and folks were not buying homes. So, the whole collapse of that put a lot of folks out of work. We've been through that. We've been through so much in the last couple of years, so much climate change, that is affecting black folks that live in specific parts of the country. They can't leave, and then when they get pushed out because they can't live there, they can't even come back when it's sort of okay. We've seen Katrina. We've seen what's going on in other states and stuff where black folks are suffering, and we're just what does a billionaire plus two have to do with black folks getting out of poverty, black folks obtaining something? What we're seeing right now where folks around my age can't even afford to stay in an apartment by themselves. They have to have 2 or 3 roommates. They have to work like these gig jobs just to survive. And people are starting to understand and look at, what? This ain't really working. This dream of going to school, doing better, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you may one day become a billionaire. It's just not realistic. It's not. I'm going to be very honest with this, be very honest and truthful. My whole thing, yes, I've been able to buy a home last year, but there were so many things, so many moving parts for me to be able to be in the position that I am in. And it's not because I'm more talented or I'm smarter or anything. It's really just luck. It's really just luck. I just so happened to be in the Army. And that poverty pushed me to sign up and enlist and participate in the U.S. Imperialist agenda. That allowed me to be able to be qualified for a VA loan. But I also I wouldn't have had the money to be able to do that had it not been for some other things that played out. If it had not been for the things I'm doing and the gift that I got the year before, I wouldn't have been able to be in the position to even put down money to even be in a home. There were so many things. So no, it's not because I'm managing my funds right, or yes, I am doing these things, but at the same time, I have money to be able to manage. So for the working class folks, who are working 9 to 5s, who are working all these jobs and stuff, it's not that they're not doing right, it's that the system is against them, because the only way capitalism works and how capitalism works is it exploits the folks at the bottom to make the folks at the top rich. There is no world where capitalism exists and everyone is a millionaire or a billionaire. It just doesn't work like that. And I think folks are being able to understand that because platforms like TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, social media, folks have access to be able to understand the works that these revolutionaries have been doing. Folks are regurgitating and talking about these things, and people have been talking about it for a long time. There's so much work that Fred Hampton was doing, and so much work that Malcolm X was doing. There was even work that Martin Luther King was doing, and it's just like people are now realizing girl, these folks were saying these things back in the 60s and 70s. They were trying to put together programs and stuff to protect black folks. Crowdfunding is not a new thing. folks like black folks passing the same $20. That's not no new thing. That's been going around for the longest. We even do that when someone passes in our family. Like, that happens. We've always banded together to be able to help each other. Jay-Z is just so far removed. He's been rich for so long that he doesn't understand that. Now, what's hilarious about it, he explains him living in poverty and the Marcy projects and all this other stuff. This is the same individual who was out here trying to sell cryptocurrency and stuff and tell folks about, Bitcoin and all this other stuff. Like, how is that going to get folks out of the Marcy projects when they don't have money? You can't teach folks financial stability if they don't have finances. They don't have anything to manage. It's not that folks don't know how to manage money. They're not given any money. And you should know that, considering the low pay that folks have talked about at Rock Nation. Like, this aesthetic of black everything, black, black, black. Jay-Z and others have been able to use this. They've been cosplaying. You and your Basquiat wig have been cosplaying as black revolutionaries. And now we're starting to see you're not a black revolutionary. You're an idiot. And I would tell Jay-Z to his face, like, this was the stupidest thing that you could have got online and say. And I'm just really tripping because you have these so-called, like, these rich billionaires and millionaires who are sitting up in their mansions watching us suffer and then watch us critique the system. And the only thing that they have an issue with is us calling them a capitalist. You are a capitalist. What you did with Tidal was capitalism. What you did was that you were trying to sell black folks, this is black owned company, buy in. Y'all need to support black, y'all need to support black, y'all need to be doing all this other stuff. But it wasn't because you wanted black folks to do better, you wanted your company to do better. Because if you wanted black folks to do better, you'll be spending so much money that you would no longer be on songs talking about what's, a billionaire plus all this other stuff. You wouldn't be talking about money. You're not cultured. You're not intelligent, because if you were intelligent, you would be able to articulate better about capitalism than critiques. But you can't even pretend to be intelligent. You just talk slow and move your hands. That's what's going on. Like, I'm really, really disappointed in Jay-Z, considering the grasp he has on so many black folks who look up to him, and to get on this Twitter space and to just say these ignorant things just doesn't make any sense, and it's extremely dangerous. It's extremely dangerous because now you got black folks out here saying that Malcolm X wasn't a socialist, like black folks, always believed in capitalism, and Malcolm X was a capitalist too, and Martin Luther King was a capitalist. Like, now you have folks doing revisionist history, and I don't understand it. When we just saw Judas and the Black Messiah last year, and we saw Fred Hampton in this movie talking about, like, protecting black folks and saying that black capitalism is not going to save us. Capitalism is not going to save us. It's not going to save us. And I don't understand how you were, like, a part of the project with the soundtrack. Did you watch the movie? Did you pick up any books? Like, what's going on? Like, folks who are working like 9 to 5s have time to read books and understand this, and you all the time, you can't have nobody, like, you can't on your private jet while you're out here polluting, you can't listen to an audiobook about this stuff. Y'all are not doing the work. And I have to press this because now I have some concerns about my fave. Like, I have some concerns about Beyonce. I've always had concerns because I don't understand how your husband is out here saying these things. Like, your husband is out here saying, like, what do you think? And I'm asking myself, like, because I already know the answer. I know Beyonce is not an anti-capitalist. I know that. And I don't expect her to give away her wealth. But what the reason for y'all getting these critiques, because y'all have been the ones going to these performances wearing Black Panther outfits. Y'all been out here doing all these things. And then y'all sit here do a commercial with a $1 million diamond on y'all neck. Like, that's the reason why I was saying, hey, this blood diamond, it's not really clicking for me. Like, that's why these criticisms of Beyonce and Jay-Z and other billionaires and millionaires are necessary, because these folks' politics isn't there. It doesn't exist. They're not interested in anything but cosplaying as revolutionary to get our coins. And it's got to stop. And I'm going to continue to listen to Renaissance. Like, not taking anything away from Beyonce, but I just have to think for a second, like, these celebrities are not our friends. I think that's where I end up at, is that these celebrities are not our friends. They are not here to save us. We've already been warned about this. Malcolm X has critiqued this, in interviews, talked about like the black celebrity is able to be the leader. And I think the black celebrity is allowed to be the leader because this is a person who, quote unquote, was able to pull themselves out of poverty and make a living and be able to be rich and stuff. So maybe if you do the things, you'll be able to. So like to see someone be able to access that type of stuff, it's just like, oh girl, like I need to be following this person because they are clearly doing something right. And then you would have them, come out and say stuff like this. Like Jay-Z mentioned the American dream. He said that, it was a lie and all this other stuff. Yes, they didn't even want you to be American, let alone a human being, girl. Like they didn't even want to consider you a human being or a person at one point. The system that you're critiquing and saying that us saying anti-capitalist and eat the rich is keeping black folks from being rich, the system of capitalism was never designed for black folks to be rich. The only reason why these folks are quote unquote accepting you is because you're able to sit up here and sell a dream to other poor folks. And it's really sad and it's really disgusting. I used to look up to Jay-Z some years ago. I used to respect him, but I think a lot of black folks are starting to understand. I don't think it's enough yet. Because there's still some people who are coming out here defending Jay-Z and everything don't have an issue with folks saying, hey, capitalism is a good thing. There is no such thing. There's no such thing. We're seeing black folks suffer like it's bad out here. And we shouldn't be living in a system that is this bad. Like if you look at the whole situation of what's happening in Jackson, Mississippi with the water crisis, that wasn't because an accident happened or whatever. That system failed because of capitalism. Like, yes, the federal government controls the water, but a private company is supposed to be the ones who out here fixing and maintenance and keeping it together. But they're like, hey girl, we ain't making no money. So we ain't gonna be, we need to be cutting costs. We need to be cutting costs. It's not about, hey, we need to make sure this thing is always working. It's I need to make money. So what do we do to make money? We take in the same amount of money, but we spend less of it maintaining the stuff. So that's been, going on for years and years. And now you have what's going on now. Like our healthcare system is built on profit. So you have a whole hospital, like there's only one or two, I think it's two, well now going to be one trauma hospital in Atlanta, in downtown Atlanta. One of them is closing, and they're closing because they're saying that COVID and everything that happened over the last couple of years, girl, they ain't making no money, so it's like closed down. Not because we need a hospital, because the hospital is not making money. So all these things that we're looking at are not just happening because they're happening because of capitalism. That is the system. And if we don't fix it, it's gonna get worse. Like me and other folks who come out here and talk about this stuff, we're not talking about this because we want to critique Beyonce, we want to critique Jay-Z, we can't stand them. We're understanding that this world that they're talking about, they're describing, is not going to benefit everybody. And if it's not benefiting everybody, I don't want to be a part of it. Yes, be honest. I haven't, quote unquote, struggled financially in probably a year or two. Like I'm at the point now where all my stuff is on auto pay. I'm able to pay my phone bill on time. And I never really pay that on time. I always wait till they send a text saying they're going to cut it off. But I'm in that position now, I'm straight. But it's not enough. It's not enough. If I'm looking at all my friends who are out here trying to make it, I'm looking at my family that I'm supporting as well trying to make it. I don't want to live in a system where I'm the only one making it. I want everybody to be able to make it. And I'm not feeling like it's hard for me to watch certain shows. Like I can't watch Real Housewives of Dubai. I can't watch these folks be grossly unethical with spending their money in these lavish lifestyles. Like, girl, the world is in chaos right now. People are struggling. It just doesn't do the same things, and a lot of people have moved. We used to see shows on VH1 that talked about, the rich celebrity and how much money they spend on private jets and this and that. Now we're reading articles naming all the celebrities that are adding so much CO2 into the air from flying like private jets back and forth. And Jay-Z has been a person who, he was making money around this time where it was celebrated. Like folks were like, yes, coin. But it's like, girl, we done been through all this stuff, especially the last 2 years being in the pandemic. People are like, okay, girl, what's going on? Because this ain't getting it. Like, what's the tea? Like, there's some people who are now, like, we're pro-capitalism. Probably a year or so ago, they're like, you know what? I ain't feeling this. Like, people are like how folks responded to Homegirl, what you talking about, y'all ain't did nothing to the Gucci store, and all these other celebrities was mad at black folks for tearing up these malls and stuff. Like, they's like, girl, these folks have literally pushed us out the city. These folks are making like profits off our suffering. Yes, we gonna snatch this stuff up. There were G-Wagons and stuff getting snatched up all in Atlanta during the pandemic. I was like, girl, if you driving around $200,000-$300,000 car, you need to be snatched up. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to put that. Like, if you drive a $200,000-$300,000 car in the hood and all that other stuff and folks out here struggling, yes, you're going to get AIDS. Like, girl, and eat the rich is not no new terminology. That's been around for the longest. Like, shout out to, like, Kimberly, who brought up and who made me think about the Wall Street pushback that happened, like, back, I can't remember when it was, but folks were protesting Wall Street in the early 2010, like they were like pushing against Wall Street. They're like, hey, these companies that sit up here pushing black folks and brown folks, poor folks, working class folks out of their homes because they out here giving some shady loans. And now they like bailed out all of these banks and stuff, and folks were still suffering in the midst of all of this. The only thing that we got during the pandemic was what, a $1,200 check or $2,000 altogether over the course of 2 years, and some COVID test strips that some of them are expiring in August, like have expired in August. Like, this is what the federal government we pay taxes into is doing. They're spending more money on their occupation in different countries and stuff, the military industrial complex. They're spending money on this. We got all type of shady stuff going on in our state, folks. So it's like, even goes to the vote or die situation. A lot of us believed, like, girl, we don't vote, we gonna die. But it's like, girl, I shouldn't have to vote to live. That's what a lot of people are moving to. That's where I am. Yes, I voted in the last election. Yes, I might vote in this one, but I'm in the understanding that this is not enough, and this won't be the stuff to be able to save me and people who look like me. And I love to see black folks understanding, because the more we understand, the more we take this knowledge that has been given to us over the last how many years in books and videos and interviews and all this other stuff, the more we can push for a better world. And if you're not interested in a better world for everybody, then we don't need you in this world. So Jay-Z and his Basquiat wig can go away from us with this, period.